Talk to us about how MDBs need to evolve to keep up with a changing world. And in doing so, is the AIIB then a reflection of China's global ambitions?
Thank you very much. AIIB was created at the initiation of the Chinese leader, but the countries which joined together to create this bank totaled 57. Now we have 103 members. This obviously demonstrates the enthusiasm of all the countries which are interested in continuing the multilateral approach to development. So this is not just China's initiative, it's the joint efforts and aspirations of all of the members to push for multilateral approach to development, which should be inclusive, which should be based on the cooperation of all of the members of the institution.
We're seeing greater tensions between China and some of the AIIB founding partners, the likes of India. We saw clashes across the border. We're also seeing pushback from the likes of Canada, UK, Australia. Are you concerned at all that perhaps that could be pushback from the people and therefore pushback to projects backed by the AIIB?
All of the members in this institution are working together in the spirit of multilateralism. I can assure you that we've been working very hard, and the 5th annual virtual meeting held in Beijing yesterday was just a testimony to the commitment of all of these countries to work together in the multilateral institution. So far as the management is concerned, we process the projects proposed to us by the client members. We look at the feasibility and the financial feasibility and environmental sustainability and also the debt sustainability issues. We look at these aspects of a proposed project. We only look at the project in financial and economic considerations. Thank you.
What's your own assessment of the tensions between the U.S. and China, which is escalating, and some say that's forced member nations to perhaps take sides?
I think within our institution, we focus on development for all. We certainly understand sometimes there would be disputes among the members. Sometimes there will be disputes between some members and some non-members. But I think we work in the spirit of international cooperation, multilateralism, and we do hope that we can work for development, for infrastructure investment in a very enabling environment. This is our hope, and we wish we can work towards that objective with the efforts of all of our members. Thank you.
And to that end, Mr. Jin, and amid the coronavirus, AIIB doubled its COVID-19 crisis response to $10 billion. Is there a sense that you may need to raise the amount given that we're nowhere close to the end of this pandemic?
We have already increased the crisis recovery facility to $13 billion. So far, $6 billion have been approved by the board to support those countries who need the immediate support, budget support to deal with the pandemic in their countries. So the management has been very fast in responding to the needs. I would like to highlight that this demonstrates the agility and adaptability of this bank. We certainly keep focused on infrastructure investment as the mainstream business. But at this moment, a major roadblock has been thrown on our path. And we have to deal with the roadblock at this moment. Once the pandemic is behind us, we would like to go back to the mainstream business of infrastructure investment as soon as possible.
You talk about the roadblock. Is there a sense that some of your projects have been delayed?
No, I think certainly the pandemic would create problems for the implementation of the regular projects which we approved earlier on. And it's understandable because at this moment, the governments of all those countries have to deal with emergency problems of the pandemic. And because of the lockdown, it will be very hard for our project sponsors to continue implementing the projects. But we in the bank have been working very closely with the project sponsors and client governments to make sure that there would be minimum disruption to the implementation of the projects. So the roadblock certainly is the COVID-19 pandemic. So at this moment, we make our great efforts to deal with the pandemic. That is the priority. At the same time, try to go on with implementation of existing projects as much as possible. Our staff have been working remote to continue the development of the pipeline. We hope that by the time the pandemic is controlled, we can quickly get back on the regular investment projects.
Mr. Jin, you are a member of the PBOC. What do you make of China's uneven economic recovery? How quickly do you think China can get back to potential growth?
Well, as you see, ever since the outbreak of the pandemic, China's economy certainly suffered because of lockdown, and domestic travel also could not be taking place. But given the way the pandemic is being dealt with, and I think the economy would be quickly recover. Actually, if you look at the data of the second quarter, it's doing better. And as long as we can keep the pandemic under control and dealing with some of the cases which occurred in some of the provinces quickly, I think starting from the third quarter and the fourth quarter, China's economy would be recovering pretty robustly. IMF indicated that it estimated that China might be the only country which could achieve positive growth rates for this year.
What, in your view, is the biggest challenge for China's economic recovery?
Well, I think at this moment, it's still the pandemic. As long as the Chinese economy can go ahead after dealing with the pandemic, I'm sure that the growth would be picking up, because China enjoys the huge market, huge domestic market with a large population and with increased purchasing power. I would say for a big economy such as China, it will be easier to recover much better than smaller economies. At the same time, China will also like to work with all of the countries to the extent possible to maintain the trade and cross-border investment. So I'm optimistic, and I'm optimistic not just about China, but about the rest of Asia. I think we can deal with the crisis